Hey, what's up? Adam Lobo here from Adam Lobo TV. Okay, this video is going to be a little different, as I'll be taking you all behind the scenes and reveal a particular secret on a specific tool or a gear that I have been using when I create all of the videos that you see over here. Now, just before that, allow me to give you a quick backstory. I really love coffee. It is what that keeps me going to start off my day and also to soldier on throughout the day. But the problem is that having too much coffee also means not having a very stable hands. So my hands tend to be very shaky. So because of this, it is almost impossible for me to get those nice smooth moments when I shoot my B-roll product shots here for my YouTube videos. Then how do I achieve that nice, smooth, buttery B-roll that you see in this channel? Well, the secret is the iFootage Shark Slider Nano. So let me tell you how it has become extremely useful for me after using it for about 2 months. So keep watching. First, let's find out what comes inside of the box. Now, just so you all know that I've gotten the bundle variant in the box, where you'll find a nice little black carrying box inside. Opening the bag, there is the smartphone mount, which is a pretty steady and a solid looking one. Then there's the NPF 750 battery. Then towards the top compartment, there's the slider itself. Now, tucked next to the slider, you'll find a brown box that has 5 pieces of the shutter cables, a USB-C cable. Next, there's the warranty card, some iFootage stickers, and the user manual as well. Now, when it comes to the build and the size of the slider, my first impressions was how light and compact that the slider was, because the motors were actually built inside of the slider compared to having an external motor attached to it. Now, this is a huge plus factor for me because it's something that I could easily set up no matter if I'm shooting in the studio or even on the move once we have tech events once again here in Malaysia. And what's surprising is that even with this small and light form factor, it is able to carry high payloads of 3.5 kilograms on desktop mode, where that desktop mode is when the slider is placed on a table. Then if it's mounted on a tripod, it carries loads up to 2.5 kgs. And speaking of the tripod mode, what's extra sweet is that when it's on a tripod, the travel distance from end to end will be almost twice of its size, which was very handy as well. And if you want to get a little creative, you can go even with the vertical mode. But please keep in mind that this could only carry a maximum weight of 2 kilograms, and you'll also need the additional L bracket, which is sold separately in order to use that. So yes, this is totally dependent on the exact weight of your setup. Now, since my current camera rig is about 3 kgs for my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K camera with my Sigma 18-35 cinema lens, I'll be using the desktop mode for that. And when I change to a lighter lens on the Blackmagic camera, I will use it on a tripod, or if I switch to my smaller camera setup with the Sony a7S III. Alright, next let's look at what makes this slider different than what is currently out right now. First of all, this iFootage Shark Slider Nano is the world's first built-in 2-axis motion control slider that allows you to not only go bi-directionals from one side to another, but to also do a 360-degree pan motion too, which I'll show you all how easy it is to set up and execute later on in this video. Then in terms of the physical controls, firstly there is the rate adjustment knob on the slider cart, which helps you to tighten the cart further to ensure there's no wiggle on the cart when it's on the slider. Then there's the master cart lock on the side, which helps you to lock the slider cart from moving, where this could come in very handy when it comes to transporting the slider. And nicely included in the Shark Slider Nano is the 60Hz IPS touchscreen, where you can go through the quick start features, time-lapse, stop motion, and other settings as well. Then there's the convenient on and off button and the function button just next to it. Because this is one of the main reasons why I got this slider, as I felt that I always wanted a motion control system that does not solely rely on an app. Because the thought of always taking out your phone to control it was a little of a hassle, especially when it comes to times where I need to just quickly get myself an easy slider shot and wrap things up. And speaking of apps, while you can perform all the motions through the touchscreen as mentioned earlier, if you want to move the slide and the pan motion to a sort of a real-time joystick kind of movement, iFootage have the Moco app, which is available for Android and iOS devices, where it connects with your phone super easily. And since this bundle package comes with a phone mount, as seen earlier, you can either choose the option to use on your smartphone or your camera, but personally I only use the Shark Slider Nano only for my cameras. Now once you've chosen the mode, you'll come to the home screen of the app, and here's where you can already control the sliding and the pan function, or you can set the keyframes manually through the app as well, which was sweet. But as I mentioned, I prefer the touchscreen option on the slider itself, since the controls are pretty much the same except for the manual control, of course. Also worth mentioning is the fact that the Shark Slider Nano is powered with a very intelligent chipset to provide a very stable and reliable algorithm to increase the accuracy of the motion and the keyframing set. And there's also a built-in sensor that detects the start and the end points to avoid any unwanted collision as well, which on other motion sliders you'll need to usually calibrate this manually, so that was extra nice to know. Now before I go into how exactly I use the Shark Slider Nano and give you a demo, let me go through the power options to get this slider running. Firstly, there's the battery option, where you'll need to insert the battery at the side of the slider, and it's compatible with the NP-F series battery, where the bigger F970 battery will give you roughly about 6 hours of runtime, 4 hours on the F750 battery, and about 2 hours in the smaller size F550 battery. And the second way to power up the slider is through the USB-C port, which also charges the battery at the same time, making it hot swappable to have continuous shooting when you are almost out of your battery. Alright, now let's talk about how I get this up and running and how I personally use the slider. First, after mounting the camera on the slider, to turn the slider on, you'll need to press and hold the power button, and then the slider will automatically move and calibrate for about several seconds, or if it's at the same setup, it will just stay in place. Now this is something which apparently took longer to set up when it comes to the calibration every single time you turn it on, but due to the current software update, it is nice and sweet that is way faster. Then once that is done, the screen will show an indication to adjust the head of your camera according to the screen, and once that is done, you're all set. Now while there are other features that you can use like the time-lapse and stop motion, that is something which I don't personally do. So I'll show how exactly I use it, especially for these quick go-to features which I use most on this Shark Slider Nano. Now to start the keyframing movement, just select the quick settings option. Then either the points of A and B will start blinking, or you'll need to press and hold the power button and the function button at the same time. Then you'll see both points of A and B will start blinking. Now start off by manually adjusting the first point for your camera. And yes, you can also add some pan adjustments here too. Then once you get that first point, press the function button or the A indicator box on the screen. Then bring the camera to your next B point, where once again, I will pan the angle and press the function button or the B indicator box. Next, you have the option to change the duration of the whole motion, which I set at 30 seconds for all of my videos, and hit confirmed. And you can also choose if you like to loop the action or reverse the motion, then select standby and you're done. Super simple, right? Now speaking of the loop actions, although that in my videos I don't do any A-rolls looping from side to side, since my camera is usually at one place, but you can typically use these looping movements for interviews other than for yourself if you are doing it for future potential clients, since the movements of the slider is very silent at close to about 38 dB. Next, let's talk about the footage quality, and I have to be honest to say about 90% of the time, the footage looked really nice and smooth, where the other 10% is where sometimes it does become a little shaky, especially on the pan motion. Now this happens when you don't really use an active stabilized lens or a stabilized camera like my Blackmagic 6K camera, but the good news is that if you're using Final Cut Pro 10, it does an amazing job with the standard stabilization plugin. So my advice is try to go on a lighter setup at all times, and while I did see some reviews online mentioning there were some issues with stabilized cameras where there was a weird jerk at the end, that is no more the case. Now this is because after a recent update it seems to already counter all of those issues, which has been mentioned by some of the reviews online, so keep that in mind. So with this, be sure to keep on updating the firmware through the iFootage Moco app. So guys, there you have it. My little secret of getting those nice and smooth B-rolls. Now, if I had only one wish, that there is a part of me that wish that you could take a bit more weight on the tripod mode. This is because that I would love to get a longer distance shots when I'm using my heavier Blackmagic 6K setup together with my scene lenses, but then again that will also mean that the overall build and size will be bigger, so I have to say that I am pretty happy with this. So guys, if you are a content creator, whether or not you're using a mirrorless camera or even a cinema camera or even your phone, I think that this would be a very compelling option, especially if you have a lighter setup. And once again, I feel that this is absolutely perfect for those of you who creates content just using your smartphone as well. And if you're planning to get yourself one, I will leave a link down below for you guys to check it out, where it is priced at 599 USD and it gets sold out very quickly. So make sure to head on over there as soon as possible. Aside from that, thank you so much for watching. My name is Adam Lobo and I'll see you in my next video.